Hi all, Josh from Tech Autos here. Getting to the end of this build finally. We're doing the internal extraction at the moment. We have 16 ports waiting to connect to the box you can see, the multicolour box you can see behind. All this weird stuff on the table, including a taping gun used to hold down a set of switches, but I'll explain that in a minute. I'm going to have 16 ports going into 4 cubes, which I'll show you a bit later, maybe on a separate video, don't know yet. And they're going to be controlled, the output of the flow to the extraction fan will be controlled by 8 separate motorized flaps. Now the premise of the project is I've got to get the flaps to open, then stop at a certain point, then close and close at a certain point, without the motor continuing to go. Otherwise you just end up burning motors, gearboxes fall apart, and you end up having to strip it all down and start again. Now, I was a bit surprised at the size of the motor when it arrived, but it's got a lot of torque. So it's a 5 to 1 reduction ratio. So there's a fair amount of torque, and I've tested it with a vacuum cleaner, and it seems to open with the vacuum cleaner sucking on it. So this is just a test run to get the wiring in my head right. But yeah, if you guys can think of any other way without using a Raspberry Pi or a Arduino, because I have no idea how to control that. So I'm going to control all my extraction using old school, like me, electromechanics. Yeah, electromechanical. So now you're looking at a whole bunch of micro switches. The ones on the metal board, one with the red, the yellow and the blue tie wraps around it, these ones, these are going to be situated underneath the drag links, because the drag link's heavy, and obviously as the drag link goes to a certain point, it represents a certain point where the laser head is. So I can accurately place these to be depressed exactly when I want them to be depressed, wherever the head, the gantry is at any one time. So without further ado, this will always be permanently armed. As you can see, the blue light comes on to denote that it's stopped, but also I've piggybacked off here for the second motor, because there's going to be 4 in a line, which I think you can see is going at the moment. Yeah, so that will open at the same time as this one will when the dip switch goes. If I then want to close it, then obviously the second motor stops and that's closed, and then that's it, it's done. But keeping this alive, which will be depressed, this switch here underneath the tape will be in between these 2 switches, which is why this one's moving. Yeah, and of course, if I want to stop it, and the light bulb doesn't work, but it did a minute ago, yeah. And then if I press this one, it goes back. And the limit switch, if I can press the limit switch, oh, just about, let me just hold the 2 together. Can you see the light bulb? Yeah, okay. But that's basically how it works. Yeah. I'm going to use some diodes to start cross feedback electricity going back into this motor. But yeah, it's going to be daisy chained across both sides of the extraction system. And this one feeds this one will then feed the other one. They'll be interspersed in between each other. So as the chain rolls to this quarter section, yeah, it then opens up the next one, which will be controlled by this one, and then this one will be just after that one, allowing this one to close, whilst the other one's starting to open. And electromechanically, I think that's going to work. So taking the camera off here, let's get this, let's turn this off. Let's turn you off. So that's not going to go in it. Why are you still working? Oh, it's because the sellotape's holding it down. Or as we call it, a sticky tape. typical. As you see, it doesn't close all the way. That's mainly because I haven't engineered it correctly. It's a test demo to see how this works, not how this works. And this will be suctioned flat by the velocity of air trying to get past it, pull through it. I know I can't tell you exactly how much CFMs are coming through, but what I do know is I shoved my iPhone up there to send the wind noise to my partner, and nearly sucked it out of my hand. So it's big enough, it's powerful enough to suck an iPhone 13, not Pro, but the one before that, up the exhaust pipe. So yeah, here we go. This is all going to be in here. Excuse the mess. It's all going to be painted black. It's all going to be cleaned up. Each one of these four, the central hole there will be where the 150 fan comes through, and then that will go through to the first of two extraction units. The 150 extraction unit, which is the push, and then the pull extraction unit will be the one that pulls it through to the other end. There's the pull, and the push is down the other extraction units. I'm going to have a section which is going to knock off some people's templates. Be amazed what people send me. This section here will be switchable off because my tufted deep pile is only 150 millimeters wide. We'll be working this side, so I need to be able to switch that off. That's something I've got to incorporate into it. Yeah. And these are the drag links. And as you can see, the position of this is relative to where the drag link is going to be. And they weigh enough to be able to press the dip switches. Not dip switches, the micro switches. So there we go. Electromechanically controlled, 8 sections will open and close as and when I want them to, so then I get maximum velocity or suction through these 40 millimeter tubes. And in theory, the minute the laser breaks through the carpet, it'll start sucking through that hole. That's the weakest point. Cross fingers, that's what I'm hoping for. So yeah, underneath, excuse all the electrical mess, that's all going to get tidied up. You can see all of these ports waiting to go in, and I've got a ton of 40mm tubing, and that will then so this weekend hopefully I'll have the extraction system sorted. I've just got to build a new head for that and remount the motors with the new plates, a new bolt, sorry, and yeah, we basically are cutting the first carpet with this. 10 weeks, and yeah, 10 weeks. It's been a long time coming. I lost count at sort of 550 hours. But yeah, this is how it's all going to happen. This switches forwards, this switches back. These are the 2 limit switches. Simple. Once you get your head around the wiring, I should have used different colour wiring because trying to replicate it by copying it was an absolute nightmare, but I got there in the end. And I think it will work piggybacking off once that hits the stop. Sorry, excuse me. Dry throat. But yeah, all running off its own 12 volt power supply, which I was going to use for the lights, but yeah, there we go. I'll see you at the weekend, hopefully with a new video.